We're here in Silicon Valley. The sun is shining, and I'm here with Chris Halton, who is Vice President for Strategy Innovation at Verizon. So, Chris, you've been busy here talking about network APIs, and especially about the joint venture that was founded last month or September, almost 2 months by now. Help us understand, what are the key points that you tried to get across here?
The key point was just the capability and the awareness. This is the first time where you have new capabilities that the CSPs have jointly got together on to offer to consumers as a service that can really benefit the lives of customers. One of my main objectives was to educate the types of things that we can do today, the things we could potentially do tomorrow, but more so just educate the audience that these exist. APIs are not new. There's no question about that, but these types of APIs and the way we're offering them is new. And making the leap from what they can do to how they can actually have a viable product that can delight a customer or make their programs better, there's an educational process in between there. So I wanted to actually spend some time to show some use cases of how these new network APIs can improve the lives of their consumers and protect them in new ways that didn't exist before.
Is this for application developers? They know that they need compute and a certain amount of storage for their applications. Is this a new tool in the toolbox at that level? We can get connectivity into the mix right now?
It's absolutely a new tool in the toolbox. We classify these APIs. These are network-based APIs. So we classify them into a few different categories, but primarily I want to receive some type of information about this particular user's device. It's only information. The second is more control. I may want to do a little bit something for this particular use case, for this user at this moment. Maybe it's potentially overtime and network slice or quality of service for a very high transactional, low latency use case. But to give you an example, I might want to reach into someone's device. There's a particular transaction that's going on with a credit card company. And the credit card company might be able to protect this user on their behalf, the same customer we're mutually servicing, to understand whether or not there was a SIM swap recently on that device. That might actually yield a higher fraud signal back to the credit card company to say, hey, there actually was a SIM swap within a certain time frame. All we're going to say is yes or no. Ultimately, the decision can be made downstream, but we're now protecting that consumer to say this might actually be a fraudulent use case at this moment in time. You may want to take additional precaution before you let the transaction go through. Those are some of the types of things that we can do, and these are certainly new tools that are available, and what makes it so unique is that the various CSPs got together to offer it because Verizon's only one piece of the pie. And what makes this joint venture very special is that we're all rising up, acknowledging this, saying these are valuable tools in the toolbox we're going to make available to the consumers on the other side at mass scale.
So this innovation and what the innovation power that can unlock is immense, but how does it change the way you work and how you see the network?
Look, we put a lot of pride into our network, a lot of effort goes into it. For us, this is exposing it in new ways that, again, didn't exist before. But most important piece about it is that it's actually tied to customer value. It's not the network for the sake of network. These are new capabilities that you can now interact through programming interfaces with the network to get some yielded outcome. And there's a customer value there, right? It's an easy conversation when you can say this capability that you didn't have before can now solve that problem. When you're in that conversation, both with the consumer as well as the enterprise customer that you're proposing it to, it's an easier conversation because you're solving one of their pain points. I gave the point in the meeting, this might be a little dated, the number, but it was at least fraud at this level and social engineering is about a $30 to $35 billion pain point in the industry. Worldwide, it's maybe 50 billion in the US. So these companies are spending tons and tons of money, hundreds of millions of dollars to protect the trillions of transactions that go through that traverse their ecosystems on a daily, monthly, and annual basis. If they had a new tool in the toolbox that can actually provide them intellect and telemetry that they didn't have before to reduce their exposure and protect the consumer, again, it's a good situation to be in, and we're delighted to be able to offer these tools out to the customers.
Yeah, and when you talk to an application developer, what's the key thing you tell them to get excited about this?
Look, APIs are not new to them.
Oh.
But if you could tie these capabilities into an ecosystem that they're already familiar with, that's why getting these tools into the developer communities themselves, where they already are, and have that additional tool in the toolbox to continue with your analogy, I think they're just willing to pick it up, but you have to be able to describe what it can do from them. And I think the developers are going to come up with an infinite number of ways that these new tools are going to be able to create great experiences for their application, ultimately for their customers. I think the key is going to be the education, and the key is going to be how easy we make it for them to consume. The fact that we now have standards out there like Kamara and others that unify across all CSPs, and now the JV able to actually harness them into the ecosystem is grounds for success.
I think that was a really good end. We have a new toolbox that make application developers excited. And I think the education note here, making everybody to see and understand this, is perhaps an interesting part of the journey we have ahead of us right now.